My name's Tony Wilson, certified public accountant, certified management accountant, and I empower ambitious software developers, helping them build their dream business to 7 figures and beyond without selling their souls to venture capitalists. My primary audience is software developers. And when I talk about software developers, I usually think about them and their businesses in one of 3 groups. Either one, they're running a custom software development agency, they're doing custom software design, whether that's building a custom CRM tool, or maybe they're doing some type of business process automation. Everything that they do revolves around some type of custom software development. So that would be one category of software developers that I work with. Another one would be those who are exclusively in the SaaS space. So they've built an app and now they're taking it to market to grow and scale it. And then there's this combo, and these are the people we probably serve the best, where you have the combination of both custom software work as well as some type of SaaS product that goes along with it. Another thing that's unique about what I do is I'm specifically working with founders who have no interest in VC funding. These are the types of people who are really interested in bootstrapping. They want to keep what it is that they're building, and they don't want to share that with somebody who's going to suck the soul out of their business. So we've established that you are a bootstrapped software developer and you're looking to build your business, or maybe you're in the middle of building your business. Let's take a look at the startup roadmap. What's the progression that you're going to be taking, especially in these early years, the under $1 million in revenue startup years? So we like to think about the startup roadmap for a software dev who's bootstrapping in kind of 4 categories. Essentially, anything under 0, it's not really a business yet. Once you've gotten to the $0 to $200,000 in revenue mark, we call that the early traction days. This is characterized by some of your very first sales. It's likely largely driven by word of mouth referrals, probably from your previous employers, people that you know, friends of yours. Oftentimes, the revenue producing activities you're doing here aren't super well suited to your niche, but you're kind of just doing whatever is coming your way. A lot of times people in the early traction stage of their business are often freelancers, or they might be working this as more of a side hustle. And throughout the early traction years, you're going to start to see a little bit more of a drop off where you do go more full-time into this startup that you've created. Keep in mind, when I say 0 to 200,000 or any of these ranges, give it a plus or minus 50 to 100K. Sometimes you're going to be done with these stages early. Sometimes it's going to take a little bit longer. It all depends on your specific business, but generally speaking, we see between 0 and 200K as being your early traction days. The next stage, 200K to 500K a year, we're going to call that the iterate and validate stage. This is characterized by things becoming a little bit more professionalized. You might have your first employee in this stage. You might have had a subcontractor that you worked with in the early traction days, but now as you get to iterate and validate, you might actually have one full-time developer on your team, or maybe 2. But the key with iterating and validating this stage is that you're really honing in on things like productizing your service if you're a service-based business, really identifying your niche market, and doubling down on the product and the market, and ideally trying to find that product market fit. This is the first time that you're really venturing into that space. And then 500 to 1 million plus, we're going to call that the growth and expansion phase. This is characterized by after you've done all the hard work of the iterate and validate, you've come to some degree of understanding about who your niche audience is and an idea about a good product that or service that you think will really benefit them. When you move into growth and expansion, this is all about, how do we scale this? How do we move this past this kind of initial startup phase? And I say 1 million plus because realistically, this can go up to probably 10 million. But this is primarily about how do we grow and professionalize the organization that we have. So you can see down below, this is your progression that we're charting through here. So starting off ideating, this is probably you in your 9-to-5 job, or maybe in your previous employment where you're just daydreaming. What could this be? And then you move into this conceptualization stage where you're not just daydreaming about it anymore. You might be making a business plan, or you might start putting pen to paper and make it a little bit more real. Write down your thoughts. Eventually, you're going to get to the point where you commit. You make some type of demonstrable action that shows that you are vested in this business startup idea that you have. This could be characterized by you filed for an LLC, or you opened a business bank account, or maybe you gave your 2 weeks notice and you're going to be starting to transition out of your salary job into maybe an hourly gig so that you can throttle down that work while you build build up your business. It's kind of the commitment stage. And then once you've worked through those early traction days, you're eventually going to get to a point of validation where you shift your focus to validating some of these service product offerings that you've been working with in the early traction days. And you'll notice here, I give this a little bit dip down because between validating and scaling, you're going to feel this taking 2 steps back before you can take 3 steps forward. It's going to be a painful stage. It's going to be hard. It's oftentimes where a lot of new entrepreneurs will give up because it's scary. It's a lot of hard work. There's a lot of uncertainty. You feel like you're failing because you are taking those couple steps back. But if you do this right, you will be taking a couple steps back before you move forward. It's all about validating and iterating before you can kind of finally get to that ideal product market fit, where you then move into this next stage of scale. You're thinking about scaling your business and growing and expanding. So that launches you into this next area where you then work your way towards establishing. As you scale your business, you work on establishing more professionalized systems. You're bringing in heavier hitters to help you take it to the next level. So when you think about working with a finance professional in these startup stages, you want to think about what value can they bring to the table. Now, oftentimes people will think, oh, the only thing that a finance professional can give me in my startup is they can help me with my taxes. And yeah, that's probably the key driver in the early traction days. I wouldn't disagree with you on that. But you'd be missing out on a lot if you thought that was the only thing that a finance professional can do and help you with in your startup years. So when you move into the iterate and validate stage, it's not just about compliance. You really want to make sure you have a good finance partner seated with you to give you insights about how to grow your revenue. So revenue growth insights, these are going to be things like, what actually is my niche market? And not just from I feel like it should be this, but actually using real financial data to help you make an educated decision and discovery on what your niche market is. Another example of a great revenue growth insight is, what is your sales and marketing spend looking like? Most startups that are beginning in this iterate and validate phase are oftentimes underspending in their sales and marketing. Or if they are spending on sales and marketing, it's a very lopsided spending. And so they're not investing in the right ways in their startup. So these would be some great insights that you would want to be getting from your finance partner. Another big thing that you probably are well aware of is time freedom. Some people might say, well, I need time freedom on my early traction days. I'm of the persuasion that you don't necessarily need time freedom that early on because it's still a little bit more of a freelance business or a side hustle. When you get into the iterate and validate phase, you literally cannot afford to be doing a lot of the compliance type work in your business. You do need to outsource that. So you need to get a little bit more time freedom. Now, when we move into growth and expansion, in addition to all of those other 3 value drivers from your finance partner, you also really want to make sure you find a finance partner who can help give you insights in your cash flows. It's not to say that in the iterate and validate stage it wasn't important. It's just to say it's a pivotal value driver in this growth expansion phase, because so much of what you're going to be doing in growing and expanding is going to be capital intensive. And as a bootstrapped software dev, you don't have limitless funds to grow and expand your business. So you want to make smart decisions on how to fine tune your engine that can reinvest those funds back into the business to grow it. So cash flow insights, great example is, let's take a look at your cash conversion cycle and ensure that we don't have to fund too many days of operations in your business. Things like, let's fine tune your profitability so that we're not too profitable and therefore taking away from potential growth opportunities. And on the flip side, we're making sure that we're still profitable enough to keep the business afloat. Cash flow insights are critical here. And the other thing is, you really need to have a finance partner who can give you foresight. And what do I mean by that? The awkward thing about growth and expansion is that there's this really important tightrope walk you have to run. And that is, you need to be able to grow, you need to increase your top line, your revenue, but you also need to make sure that you're increasing your capacity to meet that revenue in a manner that is on par with your revenue growth. So the example I like to give is, if you are growing 40% year over year, but you don't keep up from a capacity standpoint and you can't actually fulfill the revenue you're selling, you're going to tarnish your brand because you're not going to fulfill customer requirements. And on the flip side, if you're too conservative and you build up a ton of capacity, you hire a ton of people, but you're not mindful about how you can grow your revenue, you're going to find that you have a lot of people just sitting on their hands and you're burning through all of your cash. And so this foresight helps you to balance that growth and make sure that you're keeping it in check. Another great example of what foresight can give you is understand, how soon am I going to run out of cash? So these are really important value drivers. These are things that you should be ensuring your finance partner can give you at each of these stages of growth. So you're in the early traction days of your startup. What is it that Accquip or Lambda has to offer you? Well, like you, we kind of would like to keep you out of tax jail. So what do we have to offer is Accquip. We've put together a course called the Tax Ready Freelancer. And this is geared towards freelancers, so people who are between 0 and 200K a year in annual revenues. And we show you the very simple process of keeping your own books in your business so that come tax time at the end of the year, you can just hand your books off to your tax professional. Now, one of the things that a lot of people don't realize is that your tax preparer is actually not responsible for maintaining your books, and they are going to charge you accordingly for doing the bookkeeping. And the average price for bookkeeping is $250 per month, which roughly translates to about $3,000 per year. So you stand to save $3,000 per year if you do this on your own. And the real kicker here is it's a totally free course. We want to help you as much as we possibly can. So we've put together this course for free for you. It's no more than 2.5 hours long, so it's not going to take you a super long period of time. The other question I'm sure you're thinking in your mind is, well, I don't have the time to do the books in my business. Fun fact for you, you will spend more time on the toilet this month than it takes you to do bookkeeping in your business. So contrary to popular belief, bookkeeping actually does not take that much time. And we're going to show you in that course how you can keep your bookkeeping time to a minimum. So go ahead and scan this QR code. You can do this right now if you're interested in launching into that. Now, let's say you've gotten yourself into the iterate and validate stage, right? That 200K to 500K range in your startup. Something we've put together is what we're calling the self-funding accelerator. A lot of startup incubators will have their own type of accelerator. Fun fact for you, many of those incubators are really just an opportunity for other investors to come in and invest in businesses. So a lot of the curriculum is geared towards you pitching to VCs or angel investors or whoever else. If you really just want to keep this bootstrap, you might benefit from a self-funding accelerator over some of these other accelerator programs. And so what are we including in this self-funding accelerator program? Like we said, a key and important element to finance partnership at this level is getting good revenue growth insights. So something that we're going to be working with you on is helping to analyze your sales and marketing spend. The vast majority of startups who are just entering into this iterate and validate stage are underspending in their sales and marketing. And then the remainder of them are lopsided in how they spend in their sales and marketing. So what we do is we help to analyze and give you advice on how better to spend and allocate your resources so that you can maximize your revenue growth. Another thing we do is we use real financial data rather than gut feel to help you identify and validate your niche market. And this is a critical part of being successful in the iterate and validate stage, is really finding who is your niche market and continuing to iterate and decide, is that actually my niche? And should this be my niche as I move forward? So we're going to help you using real financial data to drive at your niche market. And then finally, we're going to be helping you with pricing strategy and testing the pricing strategy. Especially if you're in the SaaS space, there's a lot of different pricing methodologies. We want to come alongside you to help give you insights in what these different pricing strategies will result in and give you our recommendations on how best to price to maximize your revenue growth. Sometimes it's not as straightforward as I'm just going to increase my prices or I'm going to decrease my prices. Same thing for custom software development. It's not just as easy as I'm just going to increase my hourly rate. Sometimes the answer is we got to move to a value-based pricing model. These are types of things that we're going to be working with you on to give you the types of insights you need to grow your revenue. And like we talked about before, time freedom is critical. You cannot be focused on some of these more putsy things. So we're going to take care of accounting and bookkeeping for you. Now, I know many of you will have entered into this stage and you have already picked up a bookkeeper. We do include that in our package. And the reason for that is because we need to be the ones in control of the accounting and bookkeeping in order to maximize the insights we can give you from a revenue growth perspective. So we take that over for you. That's just included in the package price. And we deliver this in a monthly cadence startup financial coaching call. We're also available for asynchronous communication at any time of the month. You just shoot us a Slack message, shoot us an email. We're available all the time. We don't price based on number of transactions. We don't price based off of total time that we're spending, because none of that's relevant for you. What matters for you is getting you to the next stage. So that's what we're committed to, and that's how we price. Now, let's say you get to this growth and expansion stage, roughly around that 500K mark. You're ready to start scaling up what it is that you've built. Now, just like what we did in the Self-Funding Accelerator program, you're still going to get the accounting and bookkeeping and all of those revenue growth insights. None of that goes away. But what we're doing is we're adding to it. So from a time freedom perspective, one of the biggest things in this stage is you're looking at hiring many more people as you go, which means payroll is going to become a bigger and bigger burden. So we include that in our package pricing. We take care of payroll for you. You don't have to worry about it. And we also take over billing and collections. Now, from a SaaS perspective, it's a relatively non-complex area, although there are some things we want to make sure are set up correctly. But especially when we talk about custom software development, you want to make sure that your billing and collections is done on a regular basis and it's being done in a professionalized way. We're going to make sure that your customers pay on time. We're going to do that in a way that helps to maintain rapport with your customers. We take care of payroll, we take care of billing and collections. A few other things we're going to be including in this Lambda package are cash flow insights. One of the examples of that is profitability tuning. You notice how I'm not saying profitability maximization, because actually in the growth and expansion phase, profitability maximization is not the name of the game. This is contrary to popular belief, but you want to do what's called tuning. You want to make sure that you're getting the right level of profitability, because sometimes being overly profitable means you're letting up on the gas pedal of investment in your business. And that actually spells danger when it comes to growing and expanding. So what we want to do is we want to find the right mix of having your profitability be high enough to continue to support your lifestyle as an owner, but we also want to make sure that it's tuned low enough so that the funds are actually going back into your business and investing in ways that can help to grow your business so it's long-term going to be a more sustainable business. So profitability tuning is what we provide here with Cash Flow Insights. We also really work hard on conversion cycle calibration. This is referring to the cash conversion cycle. So when we talk about how many days of operations do you have to fund in your working capital in order to keep your business up and running, conversion cycle calibration helps to shorten that time so the amount of cash you need to keep in your business is limited. You want to keep as little cash in your business as possible so that that cash can be deployed in investing in important ways in your business. So cash flow insights are critical in this growth and expansion phase, so we're going to offer that. Foresight is another thing that we have to offer in this Lambda package. Budgeting and forecasting, working on a 13-month rolling basis to look into the future and to say, where are we headed as an organization? And again, helping you with that tightrope walk of revenue growth and production capacity, and making sure that neither of those two is off kilter, but they're both working in tandem so you have a consistent growth trajectory. Another thing we're working on is burn rate forecasting or cash forecasting. We want to talk about on current trajectory, how many more months until we're out of cash? Or based on our projections, do we need to invest some more of our own money back into the business? Or do we need to go and sell more at this time so that we're able to have enough cash in the bank? Burn rate forecasting is critical because you don't want to be growing, and then all of a sudden go bankrupt because you don't have enough cash a month or 2 months down the road. And then finally, investment decision support. This is oftentimes overlooked in fractional CFO engagements. When you talk about growing your portfolio of revenue, you very well may come across micro SaaS products that are complementary to your existing platform or complementary to your service offerings. And you might decide now is the time to invest in this micro SaaS acquisition. Part of what we want to do is give you a look into the future on how does this acquisition fit into your big picture, and also how can we evaluate this purchase decision to ensure that you're not paying too much and see if this is still a legit purchase. So investment decision support is something that we're going to be working with you on, especially as you grow and expand. Finally, we do still offer that startup financial coaching rather than it being on a monthly basis. We touch base on a weekly basis and ensure that we're in lockstep and we're all making progress on the goals and the forecasts that we have set together. As a quick recap, here are the 3 stages and therefore the 3 offers that we have to give you today. So first of all, if you're in this early traction stage of your business, we're offering you the Tax Ready Freelancer course. As a reminder, this is a free course available to you. It's going to help you with your bookkeeping, help you save $3,000 per year, and feel really confident come tax time. You can go ahead and scan the QR code now if you're interested in launching that course. Otherwise, the shortened URL is there underneath the QR code as well if you want to just type that in. Next, if you're in the iterate and validate stage, roughly $200K to $500K, we offer the self-funding accelerator program. The way to launch into that is book a discovery call with us today. You can go ahead and do that on the QR code here or type in that shortened URL code. You'll have a couple questions to answer, but it'll give us an opportunity to have a conversation and see if this might be a right fit for you in your business. And then finally, if you're in the growth and expansion phase, right, the $500K to $1 million plus, we offer the full Lambda package. And again, using that same QR code and shortened URL, you can get taken over to the booking site where you can pick a time that works best for you. And we can have a conversation and see what's going to work best for us to help support you in your growth. Other than that, if you're not quite ready to take the dive into these, please go check me out on LinkedIn. I post every day at 6 o'clock in the morning, Central Standard Time. I love interacting with new folks, so connect with me. If you don't have a LinkedIn profile, I'd say go and set it up now because you're missing out on a lot of revenue if I'm being totally honest with you. So go over to LinkedIn. You can find my LinkedIn here. I'd love to find you, love to see you on LinkedIn. Let's interact there. Again, if you're just not really feeling these right now, and maybe just want to get to know one another, totally fine. Get to know me over at LinkedIn. Thanks so much for watching, and I look forward to talking with you soon.